Hello, everybody. Today we have an interesting topic. I'm going to be talking about my canine fitness pet peeves, things that drive me crazy and things that if you don't follow them or do appropriately, you're in danger of possibly risking injury to your dog. And also this can have an impact on the overall health and fitness of your dog. So I'm going to be talking about my pet peeves, the things that irk me, that some of these really drive me crazy. And with that said, I just want to say, if you do any of these things that drive me crazy, like that's totally okay. I mean, it's not okay per se. Like if you're in front of me and you're doing it, it's going to annoy me. But if you're doing these, I mean, a lot of it is just education, understanding why it is these things bother me. There's a reason why they bother me and why they get on my nerves. So if you're doing them and you realize it's something that drives me crazy, just try to understand why it's driving me crazy. I'm thinking about overall, I'm looking at our dogs. I'm looking at what's going to help our dogs, what's going to keep them fit and what's going to keep them healthy. And if you're doing some of these things that might get on my nerves, maybe think about an alternative way. It doesn't mean that you have to change, but I just want to share my opinion. And I forgive you if you're doing it due to lack of knowledge or you just didn't think of it. Of the possible outcomes, that's perfectly fine. So don't feel bad if you do some of these, because I tell you, some of these I've learned along the way. So I want to thank you guys for being here today. Before we jump in, let me just, for those of you who might be new, my name is Erica Bowling. I am the owner and founder of Northeast Canine Conditioning. I love helping people take their sport dogs and working dogs and turning them into elite canine athletes. But also these things you can apply to the pet dogs. So my passion is sport dogs and working dogs, but pet dog trainers and owners and handlers are totally welcome. I also love helping people take their passion for dogs and fitness in a variety of areas and taking their passions and turning their passion into profit. So that's a little bit about me. I want to go ahead and start right into this. So let me, I'm just going to clear my screen here for a second. So these are in no particular order, okay? They're just kind of as they came to my head. So the first thing I want to talk about, one of my pet peeves, okay? If you're going to, and I talked about these last night with some of my students, so forgive me if it's a quick repeat, but I have some new stuff here. If you're going to be playing fetch and ball with your dogs, please, 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 please use a ball on a rope, a ball on a string, a ball on a rope. Why is this important? Even if you have a larger size ball, is you guys, I'm hearing of too many dogs that are suffocating on balls getting lodged in their throat. And I don't care if you have a pretty large, I mean, unless it's like a massively large ball, but things like tennis balls, like no, just please no, not a tennis ball. And I mean, unless maybe you have a Chihuahua. I mean, especially for your high drive dogs, but it's just too easy. You can look and you think the ball won't fit, but if you've ever, I mean, dogs can open their mouths pretty wide. And if you think about them jumping up to catch a ball, you're thinking about the force and the velocity and the added pressure when they're coming up and the ball's coming down, even then. And some of these balls are rubber and they're squishy and they seem hard, but they have a little bit of give and take. So, get an oversized ball. If you're going to be playing ball, please, please, please use a ball on a rope because, hopefully nothing's going to happen. It's not going to get stuck. If it does, hopefully that rope is going to be there that you can grab it and help get it out of the dog's throat. Another thing is pay attention to where the ball is connected to the rope because they can wear and the rope can break. So, hey, Angie, thanks for joining us. If you guys are here, say hello. Let me know you're here. Let me know that you hear me okay. Angie, do you use a ball on a rope? Or maybe you don't even use a ball. That's fine. But if you do use a ball, especially for our crazy dogs, please use one with a good a rope and a string on it. Yes, no cheap balls. Yes, no cheap balls on a rope. And those ropes do break. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining us. You guys are just now logging in. We just, the first tip, the first pet peeve. So It drives me crazy when I see people, you know, playing fetch, throwing balls that are not on a rope, tennis balls. I hate even the oversized tennis balls in the pet stores. You guys, for most of these dogs, medium and large dogs, it's still too small. So that's one of my pet peeves. Okay, a next one. Okay, here's another thing. And this is especially true if you have a dog that's crazy for a ball. If you have a dog where you like throw the ball and they chase it and then they lose interest and they don't even get to the ball and they run away, that's fine. But if you have a dog that like loves the ball and they love chasing the ball, okay, when you throw the ball, please, please, please stop the ball. Let the ball stop before you set your dog loose, okay? Again, I've seen too many times of dogs, you know, blown out a knee, a cruciate tear, dogs like partially paralyzed because they're chasing a ball, bouncing like crazy. You know, they land wrong. Dogs chasing it. I know one dog, the ball bounced over a fence and the dog ran like right into the fence. So that's one of my pet peeves, especially for the high drive dogs, is if you're going to be playing fetch with your dog, please let that ball stop rolling and then send your ball. There's other reasons too, because your dogs carry about 65, 70%, you know, they're carrying more of the body weight in the front end. So they're already, you know, carrying the heavier load in the front end. So when you're throwing the ball and you're retrieving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and the ball's on the ground, the ball's on rolling, there's a lot of, the dogs are jumping towards that ball, all that weight's shifting to the shoulders. And, you know, it's just putting a lot of extra stress. And add that to repetitions, playing fetch multiple times, you know, throws a day, throughout the week, throughout the year, year after year. That's just a lot of extra stress on the joints in the front end of the dog. So, so awesome. Thank you guys I see more of you are joining. Hey, Kate. Conchetta, thanks for the sound check for me. That's really important. So the next pet peeve. Okay, so you guys, if you're going to use a ball on a rope. And if you're throwing the ball to play fetch, especially for high drive dogs, let the ball stop the ball, and then send them when the ball stops moving, or throw it in high grass or something where they have to slow down and search. Okay, here's another pet peeve. Let me know if these are also your pet peeves. Like I said, if you do these, hey Janice, let me know if, like I said, if you guys do these and just know that it's my pet peeve and listen to why, and then maybe you might reconsider what you're doing. Okay, here's the next pet peeve of mine. You go to training and you're waiting your turn, you know, and everybody's like bringing, like in French ring and Schutzen, we take our turns. Dogs come out one at a time. They work with the trainer, and then you take turns. A lot of times the dogs are, most of the time, at least that I see, the dogs are crated. They're either crated out, you know, outside in a building, or they're crated in the car waiting for their turn. So what happens? Some people drive hours to the facility. They drive hours to the training site. The dogs sit in the car or the crate or wherever, waiting their turn. It's people's turn. They go grab the dog and they go immediately like full training mode. Okay, full training mode. So please don't do that. Warm up your dog. Warm up your dog. Warm up those muscles. Get the blood flowing more before you start doing any kind of, you know, high energy, you know, even moderate intensity. I mean, even if it's low intensity, if your dog's been sitting in the car all day or sitting in the crate for 2-3 hours, make sure you warm up the ball. Janice says, if I throw a ball and the dog goes after it, we have sore legs. You never do that again. Yeah. So warming up, and don't warm up your dog by throwing a ball and having your dog chase a fast rolling ball right when they get out of the car. So you want to warm them up gradually. You start with a walk, do some trotting, you might do a little bit of tugging, but warm your dogs up. Don't just take them out and immediately start working them or jumping them or whatever it is you're doing. You know, you've got sore, stiff muscles possibly. You might have older dogs. They need time to warm up. You've got possible tight muscles. We know warming up your muscles are going to help prevent injuries. Okay. It's going to help prevent injuries. So, Tamara says, when I first got into ring, I did a seminar. Yes. Good. I'm glad that the seminar leaders, the seminar instructors, decoys warm up those dogs. And of course, Knox is warming up by drinking his water. He always decides to do this when I go live. Okay, so that's a pet peeve of mine. Please warm up your dogs. Don't just grab them out of the crate and out of the car and start running them or playing fetch or jumping them, whatever you're doing. Take 5-10 minutes and warm them up. Okay. Okay. Here's yes, Angie, they don't take much time. Especially if it's a little bit warm out. Even if it's warm out, you could do just a couple minutes. You don't need to spend a lot of time. So here's another pet peeve, and you guys might be able to guess what this one is. What do you think it is? I think Janice already hit upon it. Let me see. Up there. Yep, Janice, you got it. So after you're done warming up your dog and you're training your dog and you're finished and you're done, cool them down before putting them back in the crate, before putting them in the car, before heading home. I see this, you guys, I see this way too often. They go out, they train their dogs really hard. The dogs are panting hard, and they just go and walk off the field, and maybe they're out for 2-3 minutes and they immediately put the dog in the crate. Let me say a couple things about this, about why I don't like that. You need to cool down your dog, okay? Every year I hear stories from trainers, from decoys, from people traveling at seminars of dogs. They're worked hard, they go, they're put into their crate, put into the car, owner comes back later, and the dog's dead from heat stroke. Dogs don't sweat like we do. They pant to cool off. They kind of have some perspiration through the pads of their feet, things like that, but they need air circulation. Even if you have a wire crate in your car, the car itself, you don't have airflow, you don't have air circulation. And also, if your dog's working really hard, you want to keep an eye on your dog, because sometimes the impact and the effects of the heat, this has happened to me where I've been training and I train my dog hard. I'm cooling my dog off. He was in a down position under a tree, cooling off. And his temperature kind of started to spike after exercise was done. Like we were just walking around, but he was fine when we were working, and then he was laying down. I was getting ready to move him. And then all of a sudden I started to see he didn't look real clear in the eyes. I could see the heat was bothering him. And if I didn't keep him on his feet and I couldn't observe him and watch him, I wouldn't have known my dog was in danger of having heat stroke. If I had just put him in the car and left him there. There was another time my dog, the blood sugar was dropping. He had gone all day, he hadn't eaten, and we were working really hard. And some of the symptoms looked like heat stroke, but his blood sugar was dropping. And it was, it was a few minutes after we were training. So if I had put him away right away, instead of walking him around with my leash and cooling him off, I wouldn't have seen those symptoms, and I wouldn't have known to act on it, and things could have turned out really, really bad. So cool down your dog, and it's easy. I just walk him. I'll put him on leash, because if he's not on leash, he wants to trot everywhere or run. So I put him on a leash and I just walk him, try to walk him in the shade if I'm outside. Angie says, their body, their body temperature, it just doesn't reduce fast enough when they're in the crate and sedentary. So that's really, really true. So you guys make sure, one of my pet peeves is when people just immediately go and put the dogs back in the car or crate them or whatever. Cool your dogs down. It's in their best interest. It's going to keep them safe. And if, hopefully it never happens to you, but if there is the potential of heat stroke, if there is the potential of heat exhaustion, some kind of health effect from working hard, blood sugar drop, you want to keep your eye on your dog until the heart rate and the temperature comes back to normal. You want to be there so you can observe your dog. So those are, my pet peeves. Don't do it. Cool down your dog. Okay. Here's another one. More and more people seem to be interested in using and wanting to use weighted vests for their dogs. Now, I personally don't use weighted vests. I'm not a huge fan of weighted vests. I can see why people would use weighted vests. But here's my biggest pet peeve is, if you're going to be using a weighted vest, please, 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 please make sure it's properly fitted. And this is one of the reasons why I don't like using them, because how do I know for sure that it's the exact fit? And exact fit also means that the weights in the vest are not bouncing all around, okay? You want it, the weight distribution has to be right so that it fits with where the dog's center of gravity is, and also that weight is not shifting and moving and around as the dog's working. And the easiest way I can explain this is my own personal experience. I'm not a big fan of weighted vests. I guess if you're doing rehab, but putting on a weighted vest and like running your dog for miles, I don't like anything that alters just the natural movement and the natural center of gravity on the dog. Now, I mean, if you have a weighted vest, like, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, you're driving me crazy. What's going to drive me crazy is if you have a weighted vest with heavy weights and your dog's not conditioned for it, and the vest is too loose and doesn't fit properly. So let me give you the example, the equivalent of the human version of it. I've got some herniated discs and bulging discs in my back. And I used to do search and rescue. And search and rescue, you have to carry a backpack on your back. Like, you can carry it for hours and hours and hours. When I got my backpack, I had a very knowledgeable person in the store help make sure I got the right size backpack. And they taught me how to pack the weight in the backpack. There's a science to how you put the weight in the backpack to where the heaviest, items are in relation to your lower back. And I know for a fact, if it's done correctly, even though I have herniated discs, and if I'm on my feet on concrete for hours, I'm in so much pain. But if my backpack fits me properly and the weight is distributed exactly how it's supposed to, I can carry the backpack for hours and it doesn't bother my back. Now, if the backpack is not the right size and the weight distribution is not correct, I can totally feel it. So, I mean, that's kind of the human equivalent. So, so it makes me nervous when you put them on dogs. Number one is I don't want it bouncing around and shifting and changing their natural center of gravity. And then also I have concerns about, the back and the spine and things like that. So, if you're going to do a vest, and if you're going to do a weighted vest, you got to make sure you build up, start with very, 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 very lightweight, slowly build up, short amount of time. But my biggest pet peeve is, please, if you're going to use a vest, make sure it's snug, it's not bouncing around, and it's specifically designed. It's not like a backpack for hiking, like if you're doing exercise and stuff, but if you're going to be running your dog and trotting and doing a lot of movement, you want to make sure that it's a vest that was designed for that. And Angie says, make sure the core is strong enough to support it. It all goes in the conditioning. You can't just never put weights on your dog and then all of a sudden on a Saturday decide he's going to hike 2 miles with weight on his back if you haven't been conditioned for it. Okay, so that's one of my pet peeves. Another pet peeve I have here is, and I have good friends who do this. I don't know, are you listening? Getting on the treadmill. There's 2 things with treadmills. Number one, putting a dog on a treadmill that's too small for the dog. And for medium, large-sized dogs, shepherds, things like that, a human treadmill typically is not long enough for the dog. It's going to affect the stride length. They're not going to have a natural stride. So, and if you've done it, that's okay. Just understand, if you're going to do any, repetitive movements, long-term type, training, just be aware that if it's not a properly sized treadmill, that it affects how your dogs move, and that can affect the muscles, the muscle development, stiffness, imbalances, and things like that. But that's not my biggest pet peeve when it comes to treadmills. I guess my biggest pet peeve is, well, yeah, the treadmill's too short. But when people, the dog's not properly conditioned and they get on the treadmill and, excuse my language, but they put the dog on and the dog runs like a bat out of hell, just like running crazy, like super fast, almost like if there's one misstep, I can just envision the dog going flying off the treadmill. And there's no control. It's just crazy running. It's been recommended in some of the veterinary and the medical journals that I've been reading and the texts that I cite in my canine fitness class. It's right. Especially if you're doing ongoing repetitive type activities, a trot is really the ideal if you're just building stamina and conditioning. You might throw in a little bit of sprinting, but my pet peeve is when people get their dogs on the treadmill and they don't warm them up. Here we go. They get them on the treadmill, they don't warm them up, and then they just, in 2 minutes, the dog is just flat out running as fast as it can. Yeah, it drives me crazy. I just, for a number of reasons. So if you do that, warm up your dog. And if you're gonna, just run your dog like crazy on the treadmill, please, please, please do treadmill conditioning. You need to build up to the amount of time you're working on the treadmill. You need to build up the intensity. If your dog's only on the treadmill 1 day a week or once every 2 to 3 weeks, your dog's not conditioned for the treadmill. And conditioning on the ground is not exactly the same, as the treadmill. And so if you're going to use the treadmill, please condition your dog over time, condition them properly, use it properly, a good size, the proper size treadmill. Don't do too small of a treadmill. And ideally, I like, a steady trot. You might throw in some sprinting, but just this uncontrolled, and I see people post videos and everybody's like, oh, so cool. They think it's so awesome. And I'm like, I just think of all the negative reasons why I don't like it. But that is my I have a number of pet peeves around treadmill use. Okay. One more. You guys, what are your, I'm looking, none of you, what about the slat mill? Tamara, I have an article coming out in Working Dog Magazine. It should be out any time. And I have an article in there on treadmill use, and I talk about this. I personally, for a conditioning program, I like the electric treadmill because you have control and over increasing gradually over time the intensity of the work, the duration, and the incline, and you can monitor it better on a slat mill when you look at conditioning over time. There's other reasons why I prefer it, and I don't have time right now because in about 8 minutes I have a person I need to meet. I'm probably going to be late. But Working Dog Magazine, you can Google, go. They have a Facebook page. They have a website. It's the newest issue that's coming out, and I have a full article about treadmill use, and I talk about this, the slat mill versus the electric. People are always asking about that. But I'm looking to see if anybody put their pet peeves in here. Nobody's. Yeah, Angie said on the vest, make sure the weight's evenly distributed on both sides. Oh, Thomas here. Thanks for joining us. You just started a fitness class with Angie. Yes, lots of knowledge, warming up and cooling down. Super important. Awesome. Okay, I don't see anybody else listing there. Are any of my pet peeves also your pet peeves? I'm curious. Or am I just weird? Janice, I have one more pet peeve to go over, and then I'll go to your question. Okay, one more pet peeve that I have, and this is related to working your dog on exercise equipment, like, Fit Paws, Toto Fit, the exercise balls and exercise peanuts. Okay, I have a lot of pet peeves around this. I can't go over all of them right now. I don't have time. Let me pick my top couple. Okay. Two pet peeves around fitness equipment. People get on the equipment and the dog's quivering, shaking, wobbling all over the place. And you guys, if your dog is truly conditioned and ready for the level of activity and the exercise they're doing, if it's the proper, intensity, and if it's, a beginner, intermediate, advanced exercise, if your dog knows what they're doing, if they're properly conditioned, they're not going to get on and they're going to be like wobbling all over the place and slipping off the equipment. So slow and controlled. Your exercises, your dog should be able to do controlled movements, slow movements. If your dog's getting on the equipment, they're wobbling all over, they're slipping off of it, they can't maintain and hold a solid, steady position. I don't care what it is, if it's a sit pretty, if it's putting their front feet up on an object, whatever it is, your dog's not ready. Either they're fatigued, they don't have the strength, they're not confident. Your movements should be slow and controlled to maximize and get the best use of the equipment. So I see people with videos and the dogs are they're moving really quickly from exercise to exercise, position to position. They're wobbling all over. They're shaking all over. Their legs are slipping off. And I look in the comments and people are like, great job, great job. And that's my pet peeve, is that's not a great job. Because if your dog is properly conditioned, if your dog is strong and well balanced and knows the exercise, your dog will not be just, you know, flying from position to position. You know, your dog's able to hold it and maintain it. Your dog won't be wobbling all over the place. Your dog won't be sliding all over on the equipment. So that's a big pet peeve of mine. Slow and controlled. The other pet peeve around equipment, and I guess I saved the best for last, the ones that really irk me. People get on the equipment and they do these crazy stretches. They'll get on like 2 pieces of equipment and exercise peanuts, and they're having the dog like legs, you know, spread apart, you know, one leg on one peanut, one leg, and they're, or the front legs are on one piece of equipment and the back legs are another, and they're like super stretched, like they're hyperextending, they're super stretched and like beyond the normal range of motion, okay? And I see people putting them on all kinds of, you know, pieces of equipment, and 2 and 3 pieces of equipment stacked on each other, and the dog's like stretched, like crazy stretching, and they're just overstretching. And again, then I read the comments, and people are like, oh, that's so great, and you know, it looks impressive for the uneducated eye. It looks impressive because like the dog's balancing, and you know, they're using these really, you know, nice looking pieces of equipment, and they're all colorful. Like I could see how I can understand how it can look impressive, but just be aware that, you know, we need to look at functional movements. We need to look within a dog's normal range of motion. I mean, there are some situations where you might go outside a dog's normal range of motion. I'm not going to get into that right now, but just your day-to-day exercises. If you're not a healthcare, like a specialist, a veterinarian, a rehab specialist, I personally prefer to keep things within what would be a normal range of motion for the dog. And some of the stuff that I see out there with the equipment, it's not a normal position your dog will ever be in. It's not a normal position that your dog would do naturally. It's an extension and a stretch that, you know, would not happen naturally. Maybe if the dog's slipping or has an accident. But that's one of my pet peeves, is people getting on the equipment and the dogs aren't conditioned for it. The dogs don't have enough core strength. The dogs don't have balance, and they're doing exercises the dogs aren't ready for. And the signs that they're not ready for it are things like they can't hold the position. They keep switching from one position to another, jumping off, jumping on, changing their body position. They're wobbly. The movements are quick. And also their movements are not within what a dog would naturally do. That's my personal opinion, my personal pet peeves. So if you're going to be doing it, exercises, please, slow and controlled. You're going to get a better workout. You know, think about, you know, when we're in the gym, I can do 25 squats, all that. We can do all my pet peeves going to the gym. You're just going to get a better workout. Slow and controlled muscles, slow and controlled. And then also no crazy hyperextensions. And, you know, I don't like, well, my time's up. I can go on and on with my pet peeves. Those are my main pet peeves, at least for today. What's Kate? We got a couple comments in here. So Kate was working with a dog. She couldn't properly balance on the fit bone. You tried twice. She could not do it, so you abandoned. Yes. Yeah, that's another thing. If your dog can't do it, if you do it 3-4 times and your dog can't hold the position, they're not steady, they're not balanced, you know, your dog's not ready, or your dog's fatigued, whatever reason, move on. You need to listen to your dogs. So, and yeah, these things, if you continue doing them and the dog's not ready, yeah, your dogs can get injured. Your dogs can definitely get injured. So quick rundown before I go. Okay, let's go down. If you're going to use a ball, please use a ball on a rope, safety reasons. Check your rope. Always make sure it's not getting all, you know, worn so it breaks on you. If you got a high drive crazy dog, throw the ball, let it stop moving, then send your dog. You're going to help, you know, prevent injuries that way. Warm up your dog before exercising. Please, one of the easiest, quickest, best ways to help prevent injuries is to warm up your dog. When you're done, cool your dog down, watch your dog, walk them on a leash, keep your eye on them. Don't just go and throw them in the crate or in the car and just assume everything's okay. Like I said, I've heard stories of people do that. They come back and the dog's dead, heat stroke. If you're going to use a weighted vest, I shared my thoughts about weighted vests. If you're going to use them, please, a properly fitted vest. Don't go too heavy on the weights. You don't want it bouncing all over on the dog's body. Treadmill. I had a couple things here, but on the treadmill, you want to make sure it's properly fit. Condition your dog. Don't just start doing long distances. I like a trot. I prefer a steady trot and no just, just crazy running with zero control, no warm up and no prior conditioning. Please don't do that. Exercise equipment, slow and controlled, no crazy moving, flying from one exercise to another, one position to another. Your dog's wobbly, shaking all over the place. That's a sign your dog's not ready for whatever it is you're doing. It needs a rest. It needs better conditioning. Those are signs. And then also you want to have no crazy movements and things. For me personally, my opinion, that's going to take the dog outside their normal movements, behaviors, and range of motion that you typically would have a dog in. No hyperextension, crazy stretches in between exercise pieces of equipment that are not solidly held in place. So before I go, a quick comment. Conchetta, if you have the link, if you can post this, and I will post it, but I have a Facebook group, Canine Business Secrets for Online Success. If you're a canine business owner or you want to go into business and you're interested in the aspect of using technology like this, like Facebook Live, online webinars, online shows, online courses, if that's an interest, go join my group. And also a quick reminder, I have a Mastermind VIP program, a regular mastermind group for business canine professionals, business owners. And I have a VIP program. If Conchetta doesn't put the link in, I'll put the brochure. I'm taking applications for the VIP spots. I only have like 5 of them. They're going to, in about 10 days, the applications are closing. If you're watching the replay, message me because I might have an opening. So if you're watching the replay, but if you're watching this live, if you're interested, contact me, message me, Facebook me, download the brochure. I'll put the link up. If you're interested, if you're a business owner, if you're interested in getting some support, canine professional, if you're interested in, doing things like a Facebook Live and maximizing the power of technology. But I wanted to throw that in there because I have different levels, but the VIP spots, the ones who get the most support from me, the most one-on-one, and I have the fewest spots available. Those applications, they close in like 10 days, June. I wish it were June. It's January. At least if you're watching live, if you're watching the replay, it might be June. So, all right, I think I covered everything. Oh, thank you. She did post it. So if you guys are in the discussion thread, if you're watching the replay, I will put the link up in the description. Go look for it for the brochure download. Or just message me on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you're watching the replay. So you guys, if this was helpful, if you thought this was informative, every Friday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on my business page, Northeast Canine Conditioning, Northeast Canine, the letter K, the number 9, is when I go live. Come join me. I'd love to have you here live. You might see the replay in other places, but if this has been informative, if any of this was helpful and useful, please feel free to share the video, share the link, email it to people, spread the love, spread the knowledge, and come join me live. That would be awesome. And thank you guys for joining me, for your comments. If I missed your comments, I'm going to go through and I will read them and comment afterwards. Thank you for joining me. Have a great week. And hopefully I'll see you next Friday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on Northeast Canine Conditioning, my business page. If there's a topic you want me to talk about, canine fitness related and or business related and or technology related, I'm happy to talk about it. So thank you guys. I will see you soon. And if you're interested in the mastermind, contact me right away because we're already starting and spots are filling. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. If I can end it.